I can't draw. I could never speak on stage. I'm too old to change. We all have areas where we've quietly decided that we just can't. What if that wasn't true? What if those limitations were just habits of thought and not actual facts? What if it's just a story you've learned to tell yourself? What does it feel like when you're in the middle of being challenged? When you're doubting yourself, unsure whether it's worth the effort, and wondering if you're just not cut out for it? Today we're talking about growth mindset, what it is, why it matters, and how it plays out in real life through challenge, doubt, creativity, failure, healing. This isn't about buzzwords. It's about being human and learning how to keep growing, especially now as we face this dawn of new technology, the rise of artificial intelligence. In a noisy world that mistakes being better for doing more, it's time that we cut through the fog of growth mindset. In this video, I want to talk about what it is, how your mindset matters, and I want to talk about common misunderstandings of the term. We're going to unpack the difference between acknowledging a challenge for you and declaring it as a permanent limitation. We're exploring the real meaning of growth mindset beyond the buzzwords. This isn't about being endlessly positive or perfect. It's about how we relate to ourselves when we are growing or when we feel stuck or scared. So let's begin with what a growth mindset is. Based on the research of psychologist Carol Dweck, a growth mindset is the belief that our abilities can develop through effort, strategy, and feedback. Dweck's studies showed that people's beliefs about their own abilities profoundly influence how they approach learning and personal growth. Over time, though, the idea of growth mindset has often been oversimplified, reduced to just motivational sound bites rather than a deep, transformative practice. In one key study, Dweck and her team gave children puzzles and praised them in two different ways. One group was praised for being smart, which reinforced a fixed mindset, and the other group was praised for their effort, which encouraged a growth mindset. The result was that the group praised for effort was more likely to choose harder tasks and showed greater emotional resilience. The smart group, on the other hand, tended to avoid challenge in order to protect their self-image. Dweck later clarified that growth mindset isn't about praising effort. It's about helping people see that effort, strategy, and learning from mistakes lead to real improvement. Empty praise or superficial interventions can backfire. Our culture often criticizes the awarding of participation trophies, and rightfully so. That kind of praise misses the point of Dweck's theory, which is about genuine effort and learning through challenge. In the rest of this video, we'll explore how to reframe limiting beliefs and take practical steps toward real growth. But your key takeaways at this point is to understand that growth mindset is the belief that your skills and abilities can improve with effort and strategy and support and time. It's not about blind optimism. It's not about pretending that you can do anything. Instead, it's about acknowledging that you can do something and that who you were yesterday does not define your limits today. This mindset shows up in many areas of life: school, work, relationships, creativity, you name it. Anywhere you can grow and improve, you'll find growth mindset. And we need to be honest. It's okay to admit there are things you can't do yet. Growth mindset isn't about pretending. It's about possibilities. Understand that a fixed mindset is the belief that abilities are fixed, unchangeable. People with a fixed mindset often avoid challenges. They give up easily. They see effort as a sign of inadequacy. I'm just not good enough. I am not enough. I can't do this. And they feel threatened by other people's success. They seek validation over personal growth, which leads them down this pathway of victim mindset, which I did a couple videos ago. So I want to drill down into what is the real difference between fixed and growth mindset. Let's look at them in contrast. A fixed mindset is, I always fail at math, or I'm just not good at math. Math isn't for me. I'm not a math person. Those are all fixed mindset lines of thought. A person with a growth mindset, on the other hand, will say something like, I'm still figuring out how I learn best in math, or I'm still figuring out how these numbers relate. I'm still trying to figure out these processes. I am still learning. I am still on it. I haven't figured it out yet, right? It's a place of possibility, of openness. And if you're wondering, do I really have a growth mindset or just like the idea of one? Try listening to your self-talk the next time you fail. How do you speak to yourself? Is it, I'm still learning and I meet myself with some self-compassion? Or this isn't for me and I give up and walk away? You might be asking, can I have a growth mindset in some areas of my life, but a fixed mindset in others? Yes, absolutely. In fact, most people do. Mindset isn't all or nothing. It's specific and dynamic. The areas in which you're actively pursuing growth and advancement is where you have a growth mindset. And it's the areas where you feel stuck and that there's no hope for you. That's a fixed mindset at work. And you're probably disengaged from those areas of your life. You can check out my last video on engagement. I'll put a link up here to assess exactly where you are on that scale. But for most of us, there are multiple areas where we feel like we're lacking. Maybe if you're bad with money, or you decided that you can't cook, that the kitchen work is not for you, or that you'll never learn to play an instrument, so why try? That's the hallmark phrase of the fixed mindset. Why try? It's about giving up and losing hope. But growth mindset is a belief that rests on hope, a faith in yourself, and a faith in others and the world. And if we practice and innovate and try new strategies, and if we support each other and we give ourselves enough time to do these things, then we can improve. It's not something that's one and done. It's a practice that you carry with you through all areas of your life. And when you approach struggle, and that's why it matters, because life is full of struggle. You are going to struggle every day of your life, probably, somewhere. So let's talk about why growth mindset matters. In learning, it drives our persistence and strategy seeking when we struggle. Those who believe that they can grow keep trying when they struggle. That's the key. They keep trying. When they fall off the horse, they get back up. When they fall down, they get back up. In failure, it helps us to see setbacks as feedback, not as dead ends. In our own identity, we have to see things that we're not bad at a given thing. We're just on the way to getting better at them. In life, growth mindset opens the door to change. In your career, relationships, self-worth, people with a growth mindset take more risks. They bounce back faster and they build resilience. So what's the real impact of a growth mindset? It's that it influences how you handle challenge, how you take feedback, and whether you take risks or play small. I want to debunk a few myths before we go on. The first myth, number one, is that growth mindset means that you never experience doubt. And that's just not true. Self-doubt is normal. Growth mindset means that you don't let doubt drive. It means that you don't let your feelings control you, that you, in fact, control your feelings, and you take them as information. And the second myth is that it's not just about being overly positive. This is not toxic positivity. You can be frustrated, you can be sad, you can be scared, and you can still hold space for growth. Growth mindset is not blind optimism, and it is not toxic positivity. Growth mindset isn't about being endlessly positive. And our third myth is that growth mindset pressures you to always be better, to always be achieving. And that's not true either. It's not about constant hustle. It's about alignment and possibility. You can hold growth mindset and self-acceptance at the same time. I would argue that growth mindset cannot happen until you accept yourself as you are, or a given aspect of yourself as you have been. Consider, for example, anger management. You can't work on your anger until you, one, know that you've been angry and acknowledge that fact and then accept it as is. Only then can you work to improve on a given skill. After you've accessed it, acknowledged your shortcomings, and come to an acceptance about them. Only then can action happen. It doesn't mean never failing or being constantly productive. You can have a growth mindset in some areas and a fixed mindset in others. Growth mindset is practical. It's about learning and strategy and support and effort. It's a practice, not a personality trait. You build it through practice and use, much like a muscle. But Ryan, what if I struggle with anxiety or burnout? Can I still have a growth mindset? You bet. Growth mindset includes learning how to rest and recover and try again. It doesn't require perfection, just willingness. You just have to be willing. So, how to identify your mindset? The key signal is to listen to your self-talk. When you say to yourself, I'm not good at this, add on to that phrase just one word, yet. I'm not good at this yet. It also accompanies self-defeating, debilitating thoughts. Why try? Or what's the point? Or I'll never be, or feelings of hopelessness or giving up or general avoidance. Look at your reaction to feedback, to your mistakes, to your struggle. Another way to observe this is, in what areas of life would others say that you are hard to live with? That might be a fixed mindset area for you. Notice the areas of resistance. Those are often fixed mindset strongholds. So Ryan, how can I tell if I'm living a growth mindset? What does it look like? Well, for one, you face new challenges with a cautious confidence because you've done hard things before. Not like a brazen, I can do this, no one else can, but just a cautious confidence. I can probably handle it. You believe that success is possible, even when it's challenging, because you've done hard things before and you know where your strengths lie. You believe that progress takes time and you're willing to show up for the long game. You see growth as something you build, not something you're born with. And you understand progress requires patience. You reflect on mistakes with curiosity, not with shame. You look back at what went wrong, not just to judge it, but to understand it, because how you respond shapes what happens next, whether to give up or to try something else. And there's another key element of a fixed mindset. If you're living in shame, you're not in a growth mindset. You're fixated on that which you perceive to be unchanging and are therefore flawed. That's not growth mindset. With a growth mindset, you seek challenge not to prove your worthiness, but to grow. You don't avoid hard things. You lean into them, not to prove anything to others or even to yourself, but because you're there to grow and you genuinely want to be better. With a growth mindset, you notice inner blocks, fear, insecurity, and you work through them instead of avoiding them. You become aware of fear and doubt or old stories, these toxic self-narratives. They get in your way and you work to move through them instead of being ruled by them. You connect your learning to your purpose and your future, not just performance. You connect to who you want to become, and you track your progress not for perfection, but to simply guide your path. So Ryan, how do I know where my mindset needs work? You notice your language and your reactions to difficulty. Your mindset lives in your gut reactions. Your mindset lives in those moments of struggle. How do you show up for those moments? How do you show up for yourself? How do you show up in the world? How do you show up for others? Your beliefs, your thoughts, your self-talk, all of this reveals the cognitive layer of your being. A growth mindset will say, I can improve. I can learn with time and effort and practice and support. Your relationship and your feelings toward failure and challenge and discomfort reveal your mindset. If you say to yourself, this is hard, but that's okay because I'm okay, then you're in a growth mindset space. But if you say to yourself, or if you feel in yourself, this is hard, I don't like this, I'm not okay, you're stuck in a fixed mindset. You have to notice your reactions to a moment. My feelings in this moment of struggle are not a reflection of my worth or value as a human being. I might suck at this, and that's okay. I will get better with time and practice because I will learn new techniques that will make me better at whatever it is that I'm doing. You can also look at your habits. Do you persist? Do you ask for help? Or do you try new strategies? Or do you walk away? Do you give up? Do you beat yourself up? Do you think that you're unworthy or not good enough? Do you couch yourself in distraction? Do you avoid the topic entirely? It's not just what you think, it's also what you feel and do when things get tough that matter. These all reveal your headspace, your mindset as to whether you're in a growth orientation or a fixed one. It can show up in the form of self-doubt. You have to pause it. When you pause and name it and ask, what is this trying to protect me from? When you feel these negative emotions towards your progress, frustration, boredom, avoidance, anger, what's this trying to protect me from? Maybe you'll feel burnout when you shift from doing more to caring better for yourself. Growth can sometimes just mean rest. A rested you is a product that is productive. Rest can be productive. If you're exhausted on Thursday and you just need to take Friday off so you can rest, do it. If it means coming back to work on Monday, rested and restored, your rest has been productive. Your product is a more rested you. There's also a fear of failure. Remember, what feels like proof of inadequacy is actually evidence of risk-taking, which is actually a growth signal. That's a signal of growth. What growth mindset looks like applied to everyday life are innumerable. We could make an entire podcast on that one topic alone. But just to give a few examples here of growth mindset in school, work, creativity, relationships, it looks like showing up to learn, even when you're behind. It looks like asking for help and embracing mistakes as information, as data, and feedback about what to do next. It looks like studying smarter after a failed test instead of saying, I'll try harder next time. What does that mean? Learning better study methods, trying new strategies instead of giving up. At work, it might be seeking out feedback, adapting strategies and being honest about where you need growth, about bracing feedback instead of dreading it, perceiving feedback as a tool, not as a threat. In your creativity, it might mean taking risks without needing to be great right away. I'm new to making videos, and I'm making them even though my early ones sucked. And these might not be my peak yet. There is still a world of things to learn about video making. And I know I've only scratched the surface. So that's an area of growth for me. We have to push through the fear of being bad at it. In relationships, listening with curiosity and owning your role in conflict, being willing to grow together, it's about noticing when you're triggered and choosing to respond rather than react. It's about believing that others can grow too, not just you. That believing that others can actually change. Believing this can actually change how you give feedback to one another or handle conflict. Owning your part and being open to change in communication dynamics is all about developing a growth mindset. In your own personal mental health, it might be that believing that change is possible even if it's slow. It's about understanding that healing is likely a non-linear journey. In your finances, it's a willingness to learn and ask for help and adapt to whatever situation you're in. In your self-talk, you have to replace I'm failing with I'm still figuring it out. Progress over perfection. We should note that in a toxic environment, growth mindset doesn't mean that you need to become more tolerant. It means that you need to get out to protect your spirit. Growth mindset doesn't mean tolerating abuse. It means knowing your power to choose a new path. You can apply this to all areas of your life, but I suggest you just pick one to start. Probably the area that gives you the most grief. But if you're looking for a slow pitch, maybe start with something that's where you just feel some strategic or ritual compliance. And if you'd like to review the video on engagement, we'll put the link right up here. But as a first step, we have to bring it into daily life. Growth mindset isn't a switch that you flip on. It's a posture that you return to. It begins with noticing your language, your reactions, your stories that you tell yourself, and then it deepens with action. Getting up when you've fallen down, trying again, getting support, showing up every day, or at least daily, everyday-ish. It's not about perfection, it's about participation in your own life. So tell me in the comments, what's one area of your life where you've decided that change isn't possible? And what happens if you let that belief go, even just a little? You can choose just small ways to shift by adding yet, the word yet, to the end of a fixed statement. Or you can journal, what did I learn from today's frustrations? You can ask, what's something I handled better this time than I did last time? You can surround yourself with people who value effort and learning. Think of one area in your life where you might be holding on to a fixed mindset. What's something that you're struggling with right now? What story are you telling yourself about why it's hard or why it's not possible? If you applied a growth mindset, what would you say or do differently? What is one step you could take to grow in that area? So tell me in the comments, what's one thing that you've been avoiding because you think you can't, or you've experienced, and also, where have you experienced the biggest mindset shift in your life? Identify one limiting belief today. How can you reframe that? You don't have to overhaul your life today. Just start by noticing and shifting one thought. You've probably heard of growth mindset before. Maybe you've even tried to practice it. But if you've ever felt like it doesn't work, or like the advice to just try harder feels hollow, you're not alone. This video wasn't about defining growth mindset. It was about reclaiming it, stripping away the slogans and bringing it back to real life. Because at the end of the day, it isn't just about self-improvement. It's about agency. It's about remembering that you're not stuck where you are and that you can keep growing even when things are messy or slow or uncertain, especially then. This is the foundation. Everything else we explore from here on out, fear of failure, motivation, feedback, ownership, it really all starts here. Growth mindset isn't a switch, it's a direction. Every time you try again, ask a question, or reflect instead of shutting down, you're practicing growth mindset. In our coming videos, we'll be exploring how this mindset works in real life, relationships, creativity, learning, leadership. If there's an area of your life where you'd like to see this mindset applied to first, let me know in the comments. Our next video will be talking about how to take ownership of your life. And I invite you to share with me in the comments there too. What's one belief that you're working on changing?